What's up, guys, and welcome back to Do
Color Entertainment.
Entertainment. This is Matt.
Marianne.
This is Juice.
And it's Side Chick Wednesday!
That's right. Today presented by Domino's. And
Whatever Mexican restaurant Ari went to.
there you go.
We are halfway through a year of this series.
6 months?
Wow.
27 episodes?
Well, 27
This is the most
of
consistent.
52 weeks.
And not even quite 52 because there were weeks that we skipped.
there were off weeks. There were a few off weeks.
Yeah. But still.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
cheap.
like I said, we started back in what? I think we started back in March or May. So yeah, no, it's a good thing. Yeah, we're still here. We're here. We're still here, and we're gonna keep going.
Another day above
Yeah, we have to
ground.
start. Yeah, I think it was close to March.
Oh, so we're gonna keep going as long as time allows for it.
Yeah.
I got a lot I still need to get to on my wheel.
I mean, I had.
I'm still adding stuff to
if you
mine.
remember, I started with a really big list.
Yeah.
And I might have added on a couple of titles since then, but I haven't really touched my wheel since then. All I have, except for the the horror wheel, but that's already come and gone, and now I have to start working on February's wheel, which we're gonna have to go over the discussion again.
Yeah.
But that's 2 months from now. We are talking today.
Oh, we are talking today about one of my favorites. Spoiler, I'm going to be very favorable of this film.
And spoiler warning in general.
Yes, absolutely. So, we are reviewing today the 1997 film Good Will Hunting. This film is starring the likes of Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, and
Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver. That's the name I was looking for. Thank you. Yep. It also has an appearance from Rip himself, Cole Hauser, and Casey Affleck, the other Affleck.
The less favorably known one.
That's who that was?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's directed by Gus Van Sant and written by, of course, none other than Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yep.
This movie has an average rating of 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb. It is pretty much, I mean, going into it, I guess there has been one before it, but the story I always heard was that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote this story to kind of thrust themselves into the spotlight.
They wanted to create a film reel for themselves or something like that.
Yeah,
Acting reel,
and it ended up exploding them into headline talent.
It started as part of, I forget which one I was looking at a second ago, but one of them, I think it was Damon, in the acting class that he had while he was taking at Harvard.
Yeah, I saw that. It's on Wikipedia.
Yeah. And so they just kind of kept messing with the script. They took some notes. They shopped it around. People, I guess Rob Reiner at some point added notes to it. Miramax picked it up at some point, and eventually they ended up getting Gus Van Sant, the director, attached to direct it, and then here we go.
So from what I read real quick as well was they sold it to Castle Rock, but they couldn't find. Let me actually pull it up so I don't. Okay, so Castle Rock bought the script, and Damon and Affleck would earn an additional $100,000 if the film was produced. Rob Reiner urged them to drop the thriller aspect of the story and to focus on the relationship between Will and the therapist. Terrence Malick told Affleck and Damon over dinner that the film ought to end with Will's decision to follow his girlfriend to California. At Reiner's request, screenwriter William Goldman read the script. Goldman consistently denied the persistent rumor that he wrote Good Will Hunting or acted as a script doctor. Eventually, yeah, they sold it to Miramax after talking to Kevin Smith, Harvey Weinstein. Ew, that I had him name that. He read the script. He read the script and he loved it, and they got Gus Van Sant to read.
Well, there's more to it than that, so I want to hit that real quick.
Absolutely, please.
Because we had talked about why it's a Weinstein film, so that adds an ew factor. But the story is actually pretty cool of how they chose the studio to do it. They sent it to all the studios, yada yada yada. And on page 60, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote a sex scene between Sean and Jerry, Roy Williams and Skarsgård's characters, just on page 60, an impromptu sex scene. And, they kept meeting with studios and, oh, yeah, it was a fine script. You're just not the one. I don't think this is for us. And blah, 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 blah. And they sat down with Weinstein and he was like, so the only note I really have on it is this weird out-of-nowhere sex scene that you have on page 60. So they were the only ones who they
actually
could tell read the script.
Yeah.
And that's why they chose that studio.
Okay.
So, just wanted to put that out there that they're not like... I don't think I think Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have both distanced themselves from Weinstein, just like Tarantino and Kevin Smith have.
Yeah.
So I don't put them in that category.
Oh no.
Okay, so do we want to do initial? Awards, because this had to win. Yeah, won 2 Oscars.
Yep.
It was the Oscar winner for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Robin Williams.
Rest in peace.
And Oscar winner for Best Writing Screenplay written directly for the screen for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It was a nominee for Best Picture, and it was
Best Director,
also Best Actor,
and
nominee.
Best Actor.
Oh, Best Actress nominee
Best,
as well. God damn, I got everything.
And Best Composer,
Director,
Best Film Editing,
Best Music. Or original song, Best Music, Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Pretty much every nominee.
Nomination.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So let's do initial thoughts. Now, I am going to hold off. I've seen this movie 5 times.
Okay.
Juice has never seen this movie.
Never.
And knew very little going into it.
Yeah. The only reference I have of this movie is the joke in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where they're filming Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season.
Okay.
And as I'm watching the scene of them in the Harvard bar with the snobby dude,
yeah,
I'm playing that scene from that movie in my head because it's basically almost line for line except for a couple of different, moments. Yeah. But either way.
And also, this is Ari's first uninterrupted watch.
Yes.
From beginning to end.
Yes.
So, I would very much like to hear your guys' takes first.
Sure.
As we are not going to be screaming or yelling today. We are going to
have a civil conversation.
Have a civil, intelligent conversation.
That's
what we're doing.
Oh, wait, you're serious.
Yes, that is what we're doing.
I will go first because I may not have a lot of technical speak about it. No, come on, I don't smoke like that. I rather very much enjoyed this movie. It made me question a lot of decisions in my life personally. And it also just kind of made me. It gave me a lot to think about. Is kind of how I felt about it and what decisions people make in terms of their lives and why they do some of the things that they do, and I'm at a bit of a loss for words, but I liked it. I don't know what I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna be able to have bad about it, because I think I'm a little too emotionally invested, but it's very well written. Well, I think it's very well written. The use of humor in this movie is well done. It works at points for me, which is most of the time. I'm going to leave it at that. So Ari can start slowly ripping this thing apart, maybe.
Yeah, the humor is like one of the least favorite things for me in that movie. But,
what's that, the humor?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to actually be one of my uglies, but we'll get to that later.
Sure.
It does not appeal to me. The I don't know how to describe it. There are some moments that are interesting. Robin Williams' character is the most interesting
Absolutely.
of everyone's character, and which is also why he deserves to have the Oscar for this movie. Everyone else I give a fuck about. The only other person who I kind of care about is Minnie Driver's character, but she's really mostly there to like force Will to have an emotional connection with somebody.
Yeah.
And as in like not like she's forcing it per se, because the movie needs him to have one in order for him to fulfill the role, like the breakthrough that he's gonna get in therapy, basically.
Correct.
Or at least one of them, because it's not really him talking about her per se that like causes him to cry later on in the very end. It's the realization that he's pushed people away because of all the crap that's happened to him, and now he's pushed her away as well. But generally speaking, yeah, no, I couldn't give a fuck about anybody else in the rest of the film. Will's character is, I understand, like, oh, he's been shit on in his life, and he's like this brilliant character, blah blah blah. And Stellan just like wants his like this guy to have more. Like all of his friends are just fucking cronies, basically, who realize at least have at least the self awareness and stuff. Say, yeah, no, I'm a fucking like I'm not gonna have anything else for the rest of my life. It's fine. I mean, it isn't, but like it's it's what it is.
But you have something.
You have something, yeah. But like they're so just unsympathetic would be the word I use to describe almost every single character in this film, and that's one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to really to relate to it. I could go into more, but that's basically where I'm at. My initial impressions from when I first watched it feel still accurate. It wasn't boring to the point where I was starting to fall asleep, but I was still waiting for it to grab me. And maybe it's because this is a therapy film, and not because necessarily like therapy's boring, but because I'm also dissecting it from a therapeutic point of view.
Yeah.
And like, oh, those are things that you probably really shouldn't be doing in therapy.
Okay, like what?
Well, some of it with regards to one of the best scenes, and I'll get into that later on. That I thought was the first scene they have with Robin Williams and Matt Damon's character, and I'll go into that as far as like the reason why I liked it. But he does a very good job at not making it personal. Every other streak that we saw up to that point,
The message I got is Ari hates therapy. With a master's in psychology.
no, master's in science.
Oh.
But for counseling and education. So, but
Counseling is a form of therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and you have to do a lot of therapeutic practices and stuff like that through like studies, whatever. Blah, blah. Point is, excuse me. He not deflects, but he's Will's constantly trying to like turn it about, like put it onto somebody else, like anything to anything to keep him focusing on himself. So he's constantly like asking the like Robin Williams, Sean questions about himself and so forth, and Sean turns it right back at Will. That's fine. Like that's exactly what you should. Like no, I'm not going into me. We're not here for me. We're here for you. There is a bit of amount of self-disclosure that is important in therapy, but it's so important that you have to be really careful about how and when you use it. And I don't want to go into all of the reasons why that might be, but suffice to say, it's probably not a good idea. And the moment when Robin Williams' character, Sean, like just kind of like breaks is when he brings up his wife. And it's that inability to kind of like, there's obviously some healing that he needs to be doing too. And yeah, the movie's exploring that. Right? But then the boundaries that are usually supposed to be set at some point with regards to counseling is constantly kind of being blurred with regards to creating this rapport. And that is, I know sometimes they're actually controversial in some other areas with regards to therapy and counseling. I remember doing substance abuse, and that was a constant theory of like, oh, you can't talk to me about my problems if you haven't gone through substance abuse, which is fair. I understand that perspective. However, I've also never gone through bulimia. I've never gone through like certain other like terrible things that I am expected to talk to people about when they come to me because I can't just speak to my problems. I'm here to help you. And so that the lack of boundaries, I think, was one of the things that really kind of bothered me. And of course, when any movie talks about therapy, they're always gonna like talk about Freud because that's the only one that anybody who doesn't speak, who actually like studies psychology knows. When no one who actually works with psychology really pays that much attention to him. That's all. Yes, I answered.
Okay, so I adore this movie.
Yeah.
So I have gone through
That's fair. Strange. Yeah.
quite a bit of therapy in my life. What did Strange say?
Psychology was my major. College was expensive though, so I didn't finish.
And this movie really explores the idea that sometimes societal structures are not the best thing for everyone. And they
Golly, why did we wait till we start talking to do this?
Yeah. Does she have food?
Yes.
Hi, Ed. We're talking about Good Will Hunting today.
Hey.
So, I've dealt with my own mental issues and things like that, and I actually connect with Will on a very personal level on pushing people away and shutting myself off from emotional connection. So, I can't watch this movie without crying at least twice. It's not your fault scene.
I had a feeling. I could feel it
every time. And the fight between Minnie Driver and Matt Damon gets me every time. It's
sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at Strange.
No, it's a super personal film for me. And I think the movie does a great job with the first two therapists who are following these. These are the structures. This is how you do therapy, and it's two very different fields. One of elaborate on that, 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 and then the hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And it's all a game to Matt Damon's character because he is so smart that he sees what they're doing, and he's not one to be manipulated because he is the manipulator in his arena, his life, and he has to manipulate so that he doesn't get hurt. So then, that you brought up that first scene with Robert Williams, and I think that's some of the most beautiful acting and put together scene that is in film, because you have this psychological chess that's being played between two people that are just feeling each other out, and they're both very good at what they do. And then that moment comes where Matt Damon says you married the wrong woman, and he said, why don't you watch your mouth? And he kind of glances at Robin, but he really keeps back to him the whole time, and you almost see this little smirk come across Matt Damon's face, like, I got him.
Yeah.
I found it. I found the button. And then he grabs him around the throat, and he's like, whoa, this is not what a therapist was supposed to do.
No.
And I think that's why he comes back that second time, because it's like, oh, wait, you're different. And then the second time, Rob Williams just lays waste to his entire worldview.
Yeah.
And leaves him. That's it. We're done. I got my shot now. And he just leaves. And that's what really creates the bond between these two characters.
At the end of that, he even says, "Your move, champ."
Yeah. Like, he knows it's a game, and I could play with the best of them.
Yeah.
And that is, I get it. I totally get that. I think it shows. I don't know if it's male programming.
It does.
Yeah, male programming, and what that can do to your psyche.
Yeah.
with everything that I mean the evolution of Minnie Driver and Matt Damon's relationship, it was really a game for him to get her number.
Right.
It was really just to defend his friend.
Right.
More than anything. That's why he never goes up and talks to her. And she's like, I've been waiting for you for 45 minutes and you never came up to me. Well, he was never going to. He was just defending his friend.
Yeah.
It wasn't to impress you. But he got the number and he got that one last shot at the pompous prick.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably would have left it at that. And then he calls and, they have the first date and it goes well. And, it just starts evolving until it gets to a point where he has to start lying about himself and his past just to get her to stop asking questions. And
dumbass.
There's this, I think it grows beautifully to that it's not your fault scene, which just Matt Damon's portrayal in that. I've been there. I haven't been there where someone was like, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. But I've been there to where, yeah, no, I get it. And then they, hit it again. And it's like, yeah, no, I got it. Leave me the fuck alone.
But it's not your
And
fault.
then they continue and eventually just falling the fuck apart.
Yeah.
God, I love this movie. Robin Williams is a genius in this film.
Absolutely.
And it's why he will always never get enough love, in my view. He was so phenomenally talented. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are spot on.
Are we in the good now?
Apparently.
Did we just transition into the good?
Yeah, we're in the good.
Transition.
Let's just say we're in the good at this point.
We're in the good at this point.
All right, so if we're getting in the good, I just love this movie.
And I understand.
I don't have much wrong with it. I have some ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much bad.
Okay.
So I'll go into the good. Good.
Before you do that, reading comments. Strange says Freud was a dumbass and some of his ideas on cocaine, fixing everything. I think he was onto something there. That's what I was laughing at earlier. Ed says Good Will Hunting, good movie. Strange, oh yeah, this movie makes me cry too, Matt. Ed, it's been like 20 years since I've seen it though. Kyle, welcome Kyle. I'm just here for a good time, not a long time. And then Man Beast Hodari is saying call it Good Will Hunting ERB line. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
These young kids these days.
But
sorry, they're you have to spell that out for us crotchety old millennials.
All right, so my good. Robin Williams is phenomenal. I could watch him and Matt Damon work a room together. I could watch those scenes just over and over and over. Mm-hmm. There's too much chemistry there. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of telling because in one of the trivias I was reading about, apparently on the first day on set, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were crying, sobbing, because they had written this script 5 years before they shot.
Yep. And
they were waiting for it. And the first scene they shot was Stellan Skarsgård and Robin Williams going at it verbatim for the script and bringing it to life, and they just broke down apparently.
I'm guessing it's the scene where Will walks into the room or walks into.
No, I think it's the bar.
Okay, the bar's okay.
No, it's just the first scene they were shooting made them realize this is real.
Yeah, this is happening.
Okay. Oh, okay, I got it.
But they specifically said it was a scene between Stellan and...
Yeah.
Right, so I'm just wondering which scene would it have been.
I would have been a bar.
Okay, that would make sense.
Which is just another beautifully concocted scene, and the way they build their scenes, and the really intelligent way they talk about things, without it seeming unnatural, is fantastic. Ben Affleck, Cole Hauser, Rip, and Casey Affleck are so believable as the cronies. These are people I hung out with.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah.
So all the acting is phenomenal. The writing is phenomenal. The score is fine. It's Danny Elfman. I mean, so he's good no matter what he does, really. There was no moments where I was like, oh, the music.
No.
But that might have been because the music was great, but everything else was so great that the score kind of fell short.
Mm-hmm.
But it fell short in a way that, it was a 9.5 when everything else is a 10.
Yeah.
So that's why it didn't really hit with me. But you're the score guy, so I'll wait for you to jump in on that.
Yep.
The dialogue is phenomenal. Good dialogue will always get me hooked. Bouncing back and forth, real good rhythm, actually feeling like we're reacting and off of each other. That it gets me going in every movie more than any CGI or explosions will. So this will always have a special place for me. But yeah, just about everything in this movie is my good.
Okay. I'm going to do mine because it's very short.
Okay.
Robin Williams.
Okay. Can't argue with that.
No, can't argue with that whatsoever.
I mean, I'll try to give it a little bit more. Some of the other good I have besides Robin Williams will be in my great.
Okay.
But I don't really have a lot of. There's not a whole lot of.
Show your work.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the answer and move on.
Yes.
And there's a scene where Matt Damon and Minnie Driver are sitting at the
cafe.
at the cafe, and she's like, "I gotta do this work, and I've got to learn this." And he's like, "Here, I'll just do it for you." And she's like, "No, I'm spending money to learn this. I need to know this."
Like how can you do that?
Yeah.
When I actually have to, when there are people who are spending money to learn this.
And I was sitting here with a smile on my face because it reminded me of the conversation we had. Where you're like, I need to explain my work. I want to tell you how I got there. I want to learn this. I want to know this. And I'm like, well, I feel like I know this, so I'm moving on. And it's just those two different kind of parallels. Mm-hmm. That, God, I just love this movie. But there's a lot of parallels. There's more stuff, but I don't want to go too deep into it because some of it is our personal life. But there's a lot in this movie that reminds me of me, my experiences, my life. And now it's starting to have the Red Foreman effect. I call it that. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But for anyone listening,
dumbass kids.
If you watch that 70s show as a kid, you're rooting for Eric, and then you get older and you start rooting for Red. It's that change of perception. And, when I first watched this movie 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm all for Matt Damon, and I connect with Matt Damon, and I see myself in Matt Damon. And this movie, I saw a lot of myself in Robin Williams. And it was like, fuck. And just that switch. So, God, this movie's so good.
Okay,
but anyway, go into your. Do you have any more good?
I was saying something, but I guess I'm
sorry.
done now.
I can go on about. I love this movie. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to trample.
I had a point and I don't remember what I was making before.
Well, you were saying that. No, you said your good was Robin Williams, and you said you were going to dig for more stuff. But you really didn't have anything else.
It didn't really stand out to me. Then you said something and I was going to respond back to it and I don't remember what I was saying.
Oh, I said that I saw parallels between us.
Oh, okay.
And you said such as, so I gave you the cafe.
That's what I thought I was going to respond to and I was like, okay, yeah.
But you continue
I
on.
realized that part of it is because, and this isn't necessarily a good or a bad, it's an observation. I come from a not great environment. Not necessarily not great environment, as in a not great neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Right? And I was reading something somewhere about how there are elements of religion and race and class. Well, mostly actually mostly income, social, economic status, class, and religion. Not really race, which might be one reason why I'm just I just don't give a fuck. And it's not because I can't watch movies with white people in it. I've watched all the movies with white people in it. But this one, I just, for whatever reason, just didn't really
connect with
or identify with. And I think also because of the same reason why Minnie Driver's character is so frustrated, because she has had the opportunities that Will hasn't had. Even though she lost her parents also, she is also an orphan. that the movie kind of glosses over.
Mm-hmm.
She at least had a presumably supportive environment because she still misses her dad. And I assume her mom. We don't really talk about her. We're not given much of her background, but I'm just going to infer this, that she doesn't have any parents. She got this money as a result of their deaths. But they were loving and caring, which is why they left her the money, I guess, in the first place or something. And so, like, she's had to make the best out of it, and she's decided to make the best out of it, and has given herself all the opportunities she possibly could, as well as whoever else helping make those decisions for her at the tender age of fucking 13.
Mm.
But, so, she doesn't understand what Will is going through, largely because he's not sharing it. And I think that's also, kind of the thing, right? Like, women have been conditioned to be nurturers and sharers and be in tune with, like, emotions and so forth and so on. Men have not. And so we're like, just tell us something. And the guy is not, because they don't know how. And she's like begging for him to, and he is just like basically shutting her out in like almost the worst possible ways.
Yeah.
And I guess the issue for me is that while I understand
what?
it,
Artie, you mean to tell me you're not from a rich white family?
I know, shocker. No, I grew up middle class, but in a terrible city. Not a terrible city, in a like low income area. Basically, it's really weird. That's how Northwest Indiana kind of is sometimes. But no, like it's understanding like, okay, you're struggling with something, and I want to help. I don't understand that perspective because I've never lived it, but I understand it's different than mine. But I can't connect with it in the same way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can still love people. I can still be with people. I can still hang out with people all the time and help people who have those connections. Or I can understand and empathize. But it's not like you're showing me an entire like perspective that while like, oh yeah, I know that exists. I get it. I don't really, but okay, if you say so.
No, I could definitely agree with you. It's definitely written from the white experience.
White male.
White male
experience.
So I get that. And I'm not going to downplay that at all. And I can see why it would be hard for you to sympathize. It's not exactly easy either.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not easy to accept that either. Because it's like, we all have our problems. And I'm not rating any above the other.
So let me put it this way. If I may jump in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, most movies are written from the white male perspective. Can we agree? Most movies.
Yes.
Most. Okay. So, because like, that's the ones that are getting greenlit, those are the ones that are being produced, those are the ones that are being directed, so forth and so on. So, most movies, historically, have been written from the white male perspective.
Yeah.
And that's not stopping me from watching or enjoying or empathizing or sympathizing with the characters either.
Yeah.
That also stopped me from being able to say, oh yeah, I can see that's definitely where this frame of reference is coming from, but I can still enjoy this movie for everything else that it is.
Yeah.
Probably because of some of the elements that are being woven in without either my knowledge or understanding, such as the social economic status with regards to being a Southie, from Boston, with regards to like the Irish versus Protestant like experiences that someone actually kind of touches on, like, which is more the Irish Catholic class over in the South Boston versus like Protestant, higher income area of like Harvard and MIT. Those experiences are going to be drastically different even within the same city. And it's subtle if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it because they don't talk about it. I'm not familiar with that experience, and I've never lived in Boston. I don't know anybody from there. I only kind of like, it's on the periphery of my understanding of how the world works, sort of thing. Like, oh, I've heard mentions of that. I watched The Party, right? But they give a better explanation of it than I think this movie does. This movie doesn't try to, which is fine. It's just there.
No,
but it does prevent me, at least, from more readily accepting that these are these people's like worldviews.
Well, no, and that's why I think. Well, they wrote about South Boston because of Matt Damon in it.
No, I know where it's coming from. Yeah,
from
but I
South
just
Boston.
no, yeah.
They know that area. They
Yes.
know that life.
Yes.
And they use the environment to kind of show what that life is.
Yes.
So no, I get it.
But it's so entrenched in how they're writing that it's hard for me to see, like, it's without them realizing it. It paints everything. And in the same way that, like, a movie done from the African American perspective, it's going to paint everything.
Yeah.
Without trying, even when it's not. American Fiction is going to be a good example.
No, and no, you have a good point, and it's like, I know at some point, so on my February wheel, one of my big ones I want to put on there is Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either, actually.
I've never watched it from beginning to end. I've seen bits and pieces. It's kind of Good Will Hunting for you. It's just I've seen this scene here and this scene here, but I've never seen the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
And I want to sit down and watch it. But it feels like that is the Good Will Hunting.
No, I completely understand.
Of black cinema.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting because I'm going to see if maybe I feel the same way just because I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I've also spent so much of my time around African American friends.
Yeah.
That I kind of get that community too. So, not that I'm part of it, not that I live with the same issues. I literally spend all my time there.
Oh, Strange is typing so
I know
fast
he
right
is.
now.
I know he must be. I cannot
He's
wait.
just like, you fool. You fool. Viola Davis all over again.
Oh my god. That's why I was laughing. Oh.
By the way, when he bought a car for me last week, he decided to tell my finance manager the Viola Davis story. So now my finance manager keeps asking me what movies Viola Davis is in.
Oh no, he didn't. Strange.
What
You beautiful bastard, you.
Now I'm curious. Okay, I'm curious about that. We will talk about it.
You were here. It was for the YouTube show.
Boo, here we go again. Matt with
What was me? White man speeches again, never thinking about minorities. So basically what you're saying is I just can't comment on it at all.
I'm not saying that.
It sounds like
It's not like that's
both
what you're saying.
y'all, all three of y'all, are laughing so hard that I shouldn't be commenting on this.
We think it's funny that you think it's okay for you to do so.
God, see? So it's not okay for me to comment on it.
I didn't say it was okay. I just think
So
it's funny.
really hard for me to dissect movies like this.
To be fair, right now I'm actually trolling you a little
Or
bit.
have these conversations if it's not okay for me to have these conversations.
It's okay for you to have these conversations.
It's okay,
We're not saying
baby.
we just like giving you shit about it. That's
Thank
all it
you,
is.
Juice.
We just like giving you shit about it. That's where we got to get our fun.
So is that the end of your good as it was?
Yeah, no, I wanted to put that in there because it's not necessarily it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not good. But it's not ugly. It's just
It's neutral.
It is. It explains why I'm gonna have a hard time with some of the good from this movie.
Yeah.
Some of the bad are just fucking bad, and I'll try and point it at from its own point of reference.
All right, so we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
You're good, Juice.
Okay. So, like you, Matt, I actually I enjoyed the film. I have a lot of the same feelings as you. Now, I never went through therapy or had any of the typical male problems that Will has in this movie. But one thing I did connect with is his inability to kind of figure out what direction he wanted his life to go in, and the inability to kind of talk about it because you keep pushing people away, which is kind of reminiscent to how you choose who you want around in your life, who you're willing to be, who you're willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable with. And that's that's something that I just dwelled on as I'm watching the character evolve and just kind of thinking about my own personal problems along the way, because it's just you don't know who you can talk to about your problems at times, because you never know if people are going to judge you or what they're going to say in general. And that's kind of what I got out of my experience from watching this. Now, as far as the outside of the personal experience from it, I think the performance.
Oh God! You can't even see it because Ari's blocked. It's not my fault you have to face blindness for black people.
It's not my fault you. It's not my fault you would think Kendrick Lamar and Viola Davis were the same person.
That is not what I thought! What? When did that happen? That is not what I thought!
Oh my god!
Don't replay that!
That needs to be recorded. That needs to be recorded.
It is!
It is recorded. Well, no, it needs to be clipped. Anyway. God damn it, Strange. You ruined my emotional thought.
Fucking hell.
No. The performance, I think I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed the writing. I like the camaraderie between the four friends felt natural and it felt real, and it felt like something I always wanted with just a small group of friends, which I have now with you guys. The relationship he has with Minnie Driver's character just started making me think about my feelings towards having a relationship, and now being in one, just how I choose to go about it and what I choose to share or not share, or sometimes overshare, because I have that problem sometimes. Just because instead of pushing people away, I look for reasons to try to keep them close.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of what Will has in terms of, okay, so he has abandonment issues, but he pushes people away so that he doesn't get hurt. Whereas I try to keep people in to avoid getting myself from being hurt in that way, because loneliness sucks.
Yeah.
At times.
And it's always one of those two.
Yeah, it's either push people away.
Yeah, I'm not even giving you the chance.
Or don't leave me.
Don't leave.
And I don't know. I feel like it's.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's either fuck off or
and you have both in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's very difficult. But I loved Robin Williams, and just it's up there. I think just everything felt to some extent natural, obvious, except for some of the bad or the uglies that you guys might have, and really pushing boundaries in a certain sense. As far as that first scene where Robin Williams just grabs him by the throat and like, don't cross that line. Like, oh shit.
We call that establishing boundaries.
That very much so. but in the concept, or not the concept, in the for the film, I enjoyed it because it's entertainment. Okay, the score. I didn't focus so much on the score, but the moments that I was able to get it during wherever there wasn't really any dialogue or anything kind of happening in terms of anything major, I was able to like really enjoy it because it's not traditional Elfman.
No.
And like I said at that when we watched the beginning, as the credits were rolling, and I'm like, Danny Elfman did the score. What the fuck? I'm so used to Batman '89, Pee-wee, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, basically
that Tim Burton.
That when you think of Danny Elfman, you go straight to that Tim Burton sound. So for me personally, as someone who enjoys listening to that type of music, it was a beautiful refresher because it helped move the flow of the movie very well, and it opened my ears to what he could do as well. So that's my good.
All right. So let's go into the bad. Would you like to start us off, sweetheart?
No. You guys go ahead.
Okay. So my bad. It's a Weinstein film. I'm gonna put that as a bad, not an ugly, because it doesn't have too many Weinstein elements. Not like The Faculty.
That's kind of a pun for this movie.
So that's honestly probably my only bad.
Real quick, Strange says, if I could be serious for a minute, I was also someone who pushed people away. I didn't have any meaningful friendship until I was in college. I'm 30 now. My first real friend wasn't until I was 18, so this movie gets to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I kind of started my life over friends-wise at 21. I had a group of much less good intentions towards me than Will Hunting's friends.
Yeah.
And I ended up around 2021 cutting everyone off and kind of starting over at 21, where I slowly built up the friends group that I have now. I'm 35 now, and you know it's like it's almost like two different lives, and that's why this movie just rips me in half every time I watch it. But I get that. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Same thing with me. For me, it was basically 2013 once I got into wrestling.
No.
Because even though, like, whoever I was just kind of hanging around with, it was more so just for the fun of it, and I still just always felt like I never belonged.
Yeah.
And even to this day, there are still moments where I feel like I don't belong, but I'm in a much better place than I was then, to an extent. My bad for this movie. Stellan Skarsgård's sexual innuendos towards his students. That's more so. It's completely unnecessary, and I know it's probably going to be an ugly for you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put it as a bad and an ugly.
That's the Weinstein touch.
Yeah, that's the Weinstein. Yeah, so and I honestly don't, because it's a Weinstein movie, I'm going to give it a bad as well. Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, ew. Ew,
yeah.
Yeah, so that's also a bad for me. I think that's...
But, actually, no. I'm not going to put Stellan's behavior on my bad, and I will explain why.
Please do.
I will explain why my great. Go ahead.
Ew, okay.
Okay.
Wait, there's a point. Wait.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm waiting. That's all.
I think that's it for me. Because I'm too kind of caught up in my emotional distress from watching this.
Did you cry?
I wanted to.
Okay.
Which
part grabbed you? That's a twist.
The fight. The fight with Will and Minnie Driver's character.
Yeah, that one fucked me up.
And I'll be honest, I'll bring it up later, but yeah.
Worst part about that scene is that she's never fighting back.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't know. I didn't. And God, yeah, no, that scene fucked me up. All right, you're bad, baby.
Interesting that you bring that scene up.
Okay.
It's kind of actually more of my ugly, so I'll save that one.
Okay.
But yeah, so I have a list. I don't have a long list, but they're just things that I wrote down. The headline for Good Will Hunting for me was, "The protagonist and his friends are unsympathetic butt munches." That's a quote.
Okay.
They are. They're fucking douchebags. And I understand that we get to see Will's growth, and we get to sympathize with him because he is the one who grows.
But I'm not here to argue it yet. Go ahead.
He's the protagonist, so we're following his story.
Yes.
And we're following his story because he's this golden child or whatever. It's kind of like there's theories in literary, studies. I don't know what the word is, but it's this idea of like the one sort of thing. Like everyone's journey is basically to facilitate the one's journey.
Yeah, the main character. Yeah.
And so that is exactly who Good Will Hunting is. Everyone is trying to help him see his own genius that he refuses to, own up to, basically. Like, God, why won't you save us and be, this fantastic mathematician and go out and to do right things in the world and, become Einstein and, so forth and so on, which is great. I just... And I'm not going to say that I don't enjoy writing like that. I'm not going to say I've never seen stories like that I've watched and enjoyed. Because I think The Matrix is definitely one of those. Mm-hmm. And The Matrix has problems also.
Very literally and on the nose, yes. And one, yes.
And The Matrix has problems also.
Yeah.
So, but this one, it was harder to watch for me in the way that it was written. Mm-hmm. And... not because it's about math, not because it's about therapy, because those are things that are far up my alley. one of the things we were talking about, we were sitting there watching them, was like, what was, me and you were talking over the movie at some point at the beginning. And so he started like here, you can do like this formula, whatever, and left it out there for everyone to go do. And we'll start doing it and start working on it and everything. And I was like, ooh. And I was like, that sounds like fun. And I forget what you said. Do you remember?
You said, doing math for fun. And I took it as a tone at first of you trying to criticize the movie, like, oh, math for fun? Seriously? Because I had forgotten who you were. And I said, no, yeah, it's like that math problem that sticks with you, and then you go home, and you're thinking about the math problem all the way home, and I know not everyone's going to understand what we're talking about, because me and Ari are nerds. But it's just sticking with you, and you're like, I've had it at work where I'm in the middle of closing a car deal, and my only job is to get this signature on the paper. I have stopped people from signing the paper to figure out some math that they hadn't figured out yet for them.
But the quote was basically like, you're like, oh yeah, is that problem?
It's that problem that sticks with you, and you go home and you just have to do that problem.
Yeah, you have to get
And
out of your head.
Ari doesn't miss a beat. She just turns to me and go, yeah, fun. Or that's not fun?
Yeah,
something like
that. Yeah, something to that effect, yeah.
And it was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. You're Ari. Never mind. I know exactly what you mean.
I've come across SAT problems that, like, no one was able to solve this math problem. Like, fuck you. And I pause it, and I read through, like, how did they not be able to solve it? Now, granted, I'm in my not SAT taking days anymore, so I've been through college.
And the worst thing about those is, like, 99% of the ones I've seen can be solved with PEMDAS.
A bunch of those, but the SAT ones are a little, like, usually are geography or whatever, geometry.
Those I like because, like, oh, okay, now you're gonna make me actually work.
Yeah.
But there's so many like Facebook ones where it's
oh
like,
no, fuck those.
Y'all, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Those
just try it.
Okay. Sidebar. I actually looked that up. So like, the phenomenon of people coming up with, like, because you'll see people going to war in the comments. No, it's 0. No, it's -6. No, it's 6. Like, they're like, it's a clear divide with every once in a while some random asshole going like, it's 3.9. Like, fuck you. There's no decimals in there in the first place. But so go check your math again. But like, literally, I went online. I like typed up like, why is this shit so divisive? And aside from everything being divisive in this fucking country, but the idea was that like the way the problems are set up to be misleading.
Yeah.
Because no one would ever set up a problem like that.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Because a lot of times they're not done to solve for X. They're like, where X is on the other side of the equal sign. They're usually done with X on that side and a numerical solution on the other side of the equal sign. That's not how we're doing it. Yeah. And so any way you would actually set that problem up, you would be solving for quantities, usually represented by variables, and that is why certain rules people are applying are coming up differently than how it might be used.
Sure, no.
Because it's Goodwill Hunting, damn it.
Exactly.
You know what? Pay me back. One of my goods? Fucking math. Alright. Now that said, I'm pretty sure actually one of my bads is a lot of the math they used in there was bullshit.
Is it bullshit because it's bullshit, or is it bullshit because you didn't understand?
No, it's bullshit because they actually used the wrong terms for it.
Oh.
I actually looked it up. So, actually, I'll look it up real quick for you. For the math.
God damn it.
I'm looking at the first math problem. They call it's a multi-intermediate level graph theory, but they call it a Fourier system. Mm-hmm. There's other stuff in there, but that was one of the ones. I'm not gonna sit there and like actually read through it. We're gonna move on.
Okay, so the math is not the most accurate thing in the world. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna like chalk it.
But it's a subplot, so whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. But no, that was the whole thing, was that this movie like is math and therapy, and you think it would be enough to get me like going, oh, do tell. It doesn't actually, like, maybe because there's not enough math? I don't know.
Goodwill Hunting would be better with more math.
That's true.
Ari 2020.
And maybe less therapy.
And maybe less therapy. That's absolutely 100% true.
More math, less therapy. Ari 2024.
Yeah, baby. But so
we're gonna come up with that movie, and we're gonna call it Mid-Will Hunting.
Mid-Will Hunting.
Or we won't even call it Will Hunting. We'll call it something else. We'll come up with a random name.
I digress. The issue is that I think that the characters are butt munches. They're hard to follow. I understand that this is your experience. That I know lots of death. My
I was
options. I know
about
broke.
lunch at one time too.
Yes, I know. And that's fine. However, when I'm seeing them on screen, I'm only getting to see certain caricature versions of them. Like, I don't really see a whole lot of depth. The only depth that we kind of get is Ben Affleck's character at the end, where he's like, I accept my lot. But you, fucker, if you're still here, I'm going to kill you.
Oh, it's one
Because
of
you
my
need to
favorite
do
parts of the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
No, it shows that he has some sort of depth. But all the other characters, I wanted to strangle Casey Affleck's character every time he spoke.
Well, actually, you know who that is, though, right?
His brother, yes.
No.
Also,
In our life. Come on. It's painfully obvious.
I'm not going to say his name on internet, but yes.
What letter does it start with?
I assume S.
Yes.
Yes.
100 fucking %.
And I also went straight with that person a lot of times.
100%.
Yes.
That's why it just added another layer. Like, I know these people.
But I know them, but I don't spend every fucking day with them for hours on end getting blasted drunk.
If I would have never met you, I might have.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You're so lucky.
That's kind of
You're so fucking welcome.
You're so welcome that you met me, Ari 2024.
Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
And to be fair, that was kind of.
Just say you got some gems today. That's all.
Yeah. And it's not, and it wasn't a plot point in the movie, but it is definitely it is kind of a point brought up in the movie about me meeting that person that God sent for you. So,
yeah.
There you go.
No, yeah, and God, that's where I'm going to get in my grade. But okay,
Back to your.
But that's fair. The issue is that watching those people on screen, deliver any amount of lines, especially the lines that they ended up delivering. The first one that we get from Ben Affleck when he's talking to the chick across the bar, which is gonna go directly into my ugly, as a matter of fact. Is just, what the fuck, why are you gonna be so fucking obnoxious for? I understand are we trying to display that you guys are obnoxious because you are Southeast Irish Catholic fucks or whatever, or something, that's how you're doing it.
Though. What are you talking about?
Well, she'll get into it.
I will fucking get into it.
She will get into it.
Okay.
But just in general, like, that's one thing. I could not go with the characters.
Okay.
The therapy I kind of touched on. I even looked up some stuff just to make certain I wasn't like all completely off base, because I was like, what does people think about Good Will Hunting therapy? And a lot of psychologists were like, oh, that sounds fine. And I'm like, really? And then I looked at other stuff and I'm like,
I think it's because when you have a student like that, or you have someone like that who sees through the system, who the system has fucked him over so much that he sees the strings and he needs to know how to work it and how to manipulate it, that conventional therapy methods don't fucking work. Because he sees it. He sees the strings. So that was kind of the point, is that Rob has to go a different route with this kid.
Yeah. He's playing the
game
game
with him. It ain't gonna work that way.
That's the issue, is that he's playing the game with him. And that's not what you do in therapy. That's my issue. That's my issue. You're looking at it from a point of, like, there's like this one up gamesmanship, and maybe to a certain extent, and like there's a zero sum as how all of our interactions are gonna go. But in therapy, that should be the one place where no, that's not what you need to come here to do. And so that's kind of what let me say, if you spend all of your life trying to get through by manipulating other people as a survival tactic, then how is it that me as a therapist, also manipulating you throughout the point of the game that you're trying to play, going to help you stop doing that? You're going to view me as just one more person, if nothing else, combatant that you have to go try to get over. And if I'm winning, that means that you're losing. That's the issue with going at it from that perspective. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of am challenged by the way they decided to do it. Because I think you're right. I think that is the way in which they set it up, in terms of, like, is this supposed to be this chess match? And maybe that's how they start, and then we're going to, like, okay, we're going to start to deconstruct some of this stuff later on. But the issue is, in therapy, that may not always be successful. That person may not come back. And whenever you're in therapy, you're working with the person with the understanding that you're only with them for that time, but you do need to try and keep working with them for them to come back.
Yes, and that is set up in the movie. Now, we only have 2 hours of movie to go through, so you can't see every little piece. You just can't.
I'm going over what they're showing me, and that part is what
it's set up by the very first line that Robin Williams has in the movie.
Which is?
Why is it important for your client to trust you?
Yes.
Because they won't talk to you if they don't trust you.
If they won't be honest,
The
yes.
first 2-3 sessions
If they're not being honest, that's
were
specifically the point.
building trust
I understand that.
by lowering to his level and playing his game.
That's not what I'm saying.
It built trust with him.
In a movie. That is not in a therapeutic relationship. That could be helpful in some environments, but generally speaking, it's possibly going to be far more harmful for that client. And the issue is that it's not just about for him to talk to you. It is for him to be honest. Doesn't matter if he's talking to you if everything he says is not fucking right.
Yes, but that's the point. That's why they go through the first two. Like the first two were very. These are the methods. This is how you do this. You are in our world. And Robin hears that he went through 5 fucking therapists before he talked to him, and he's just chewing them up and spitting them out. He's got to come at it in a different angle. He has to.
But he has no idea how they're coming at it. Plus, okay, here, you want to talk about other issues?
He started naming up the therapists.
I'm still talking.
No,
it's my fucking bad.
You don't have a point.
I'm trying to say my point. Like, for example, what was it he said when he was talking? He was with fucking hypnotherapist. You went to a therapist before you went to an actual other therapist. Yeah. I get it, Stellan. You have 5 problems with this person, and that's why you didn't go to him first.
He said he went to 5.
He went to 5. But one of them was a fucking hypnotherapist. And they had the scene where at some point he's like, I've just been wasting my fucking time. Why did you bring me in here? I have better things to do with my time. Like, how? You're a fucking hypnotherapist. Like,
that's pretty funny, too.
Because it's basically bullshit.
It's black magic therapy, yeah.
Yes. I'm not going to say
power of suggestion.
Yes. I'm not going to say that it isn't still very powerful because we know that fucking works.
Yeah.
However.
Some people need the power of suggestion, though.
Yeah, but that's not the point of therapy.
No, but if you think you need therapy and you really just need the power of suggestion, so you create hypnotherapists so that the power of suggestion makes them think they got therapy, and thus you have the placebo effect where they actually get better without actually getting therapy. Mm-hmm. That is very American medicine.
I think it's funny that you were trying to argue with me about what therapy actually looks like it is.
Oh, I have no problem arguing this with you at all.
All right.
Now, back to where you were saying, he doesn't know how they were approaching it before.
He doesn't.
He does.
He knows
they established that too.
He doesn't know what the therapists are.
If you let me
finish
my point.
When did he actually discuss
he says they were Stellan when Stellan's initially pitching it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, how many therapists did you go before you went to me?
Yeah.
He says 5.
Okay.
And then
he starts naming them,
but Robin ends up naming them.
Okay.
Like, you went to this guy. Then you went to this guy. Then you went... Not that
that's
guy.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And I have a feeling when he was like, not that guy, he's talking about the hypnotherapist.
He's talking about Barry. So he knew.
We never get the names.
That's fair. You're right. I apologize.
So Robin knows these doctors. He knows their methods.
Yes.
So he knows how they went at him.
Yes.
And he would have done his homework going in.
Yes.
That's why I think that's already established in the movie. But because it's a 2-hour runtime, you have to catch these little conversations to understand that that's set up already.
Yes. I understand what you're saying.
That's all.
I am saying that it's still bullshit.
Well,
I understand that you're saying that I need this person to be able to cross boundaries with me and go through all the transfers and go through all the projection and everything like that because that's going to be what helps me. And I'm saying that might help and feel better in the initial, but the issue is it doesn't oftentimes translate into actual work for the patient, for the client. Sometimes it helps it's doing more for the therapist than it is for the actual client and be able to have these relationships. And that's not what the client is fucking there for. They're not there to help you feel better. It's to help them feel better. It is a business relationship.
Yes.
Except this wasn't a business relationship either.
But
it's a lot closer than a business relationship. But it is. It's still a transaction. You get me in here and it's not like strictly like, okay, here's money and you give me what I need. It is a little bit more involved in that because it's therapy. You're working with somebody's emotions, history, soul, basically. And so it's not going to be just cut and dry as like, here's paper money and then you give me something in return for it. But there should be some return for it. He gets to stay out of jail. That's ultimately what he's going for. But he doesn't want to do therapy, so he's doing everything to not have to actually fucking do it while still staying out of jail. Until he finally meets somebody who's like started to challenge him. And that is what he needs. He does need someone to challenge him. What I'm saying is the manipulation aspect, if you're looking at it just from the point of a chess game, that's not the way that a therapeutic relationship should ever be structured.
But that's the thing. The only part of the chess game is the first meeting. It's them feeling each other out.
It's
them
the second one,
seeing-
too.
The second one is
He chooses
Your move sport.
No, yes, your move sport,
So
yes, okay, but the whole conversation is him showing him I can do it too.
And that's my point.
I've been there. I understand. I get it. It's putting himself on that same level and starting to build that trust.
Yes.
That's it. He's just building the trust.
I know that's what you're saying. That's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing.
And I'm saying that I'm taking issue as somebody who's been in, like, as a therapist in some capacity, who's gone through understanding the ethical elements that go into that relationship, that you are obligated to do for your license, that there are strong reservations with doing that for several reasons.
Yes, I understand that, but
I
that's
don't
what
think
you
you
can't
do.
get over, and that's why we will just agree to disagree on this point.
Then stop
because
trying to rebut me on it.
I will always think that just because it's in a book, just because someone who had success with it once says this is the way to do it, doesn't mean that's now universal.
Okay, I need you, for my bad, to stop trying to rebut me on therapy from my perspective. That's it. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking for you. I know we're going to go back and forth all the time. I get it. But what I'm saying is, this is why this is a bad for me. And you're not convincing me otherwise.
All right, I'm shutting up.
Okay. So my bad is that this is why it's an issue. I see your perspective. My perspective still differs with that. It is a problem in that it communicates this is how a successful therapeutic relationship might traditionally look, or can traditionally look, or this might be successful in other avenues, and it's not. It might be useful in this one scenario, but I think the challenge a lot of times in movies where they try to showcase therapy, psychotherapy, psychiatry, all that other stuff, is from pop psychology at best. The person who's doing it doesn't really have a very good understanding of what therapy, counseling, and so forth look like, or mental health for that matter. And so they're doing very substantive, like surface work with it, superficial applications to it.
Yeah.
This one goes a little bit deeper than I think most do, but it's doing like bachelor level work as opposed to like graduate or like doctorate level work. And I understand it's a movie, so you can't go super totally deep into it. But other relationships have done a better job. Other movies have done a better job of doing that. There are fewer and far between. That's why I have a challenge with this movie, is that I think that while they do hit on some good points, and I think that Robin Williams' character and generally his, like, the way that he portrays himself is done very well as a therapist, as trying to maintain that I'm going to put it on you, this is not about me, I'm going to put it, like, asking those, like, very pointed questions. There are a lot of boundary crossings that I think that most people, I like to think, who are from a therapeutic, like, counselor point of view would say, because of knowing the dangers that come with doing that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
All right, is that it for bad? Or?
Most of the rest I have is basically in the ugly. Oh, and also dog racing, but that could probably be an ugly also. So.
Dog racing?
Dog racing.
Just because of the treatment of the dogs?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ugly.
Ugly. All right, I'll start here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, the word retarded is thrown around quite a bit as a descriptor, when it shouldn't be.
Oh, shit. I must have blanked on
that. That is there.
That was from like the fucking professors too.
Oh, shit.
No, there's a lot of problematic language, which, don't get me wrong, it's not right. It was happening in the time.
The 90s? The late 90s?
Yeah, it was still happening.
Yeah.
I'm aware, but
It was
still.
pretty big in the 90s, actually. So
1990s, late 1900s.
I hate you. So yes, there's some problematic language. The professor hitting on the students, you could have cut all that shit out, and the movie would have been just as good.
Yes, it would have
doesn't-
been better.
It doesn't necessarily. Well, okay, yeah, it would have been better for Ari. It doesn't like kill the movie for me. It's just I kind of gloss over it, like whatever.
Yeah.
So that could have been cut out for sure. That's about it for me.
Real quick, I'm gonna make the comments. if I can be serious, I said that right. So this movie gets to me. I love when Ari and Matt are going at it, and Juice is just a chill guy.
That's kind of how this whole setup has been for the most part. I mean, when they're very passionate about a certain topic, I just kind of stay out of it because I really have no say in it whatsoever.
That's it. Kind of jump in and do my
No.
thing.
I mean, but when you guys are going at it, I just kind of let you go at it. I'll get my shit in when I can.
That's it.
I'm patient in that regards.
That's it. Can I do the ugly next?
Yes, you may.
All right. So hitting on your students is actually a fucking ugly for me, and not only does it once, he does it twice. And it'd be one thing if we're doing it to set up this guy as a skis, and it's gonna end up being an element with regards to the plot, but it doesn't.
No.
It's just in there because it's an opportunity to hit on the younger.
It does.
How?
Taking it off my ugly because that's part of my grade. I forgot. I'm explaining it in my grade. Go ahead.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to do a really good job explaining it. I don't
That's
see
fine.
it.
That's fine. I'm preparing it.
And this guy, whatever. Okay, so generally this guy hitting on his students is gross. The obnoxious comment that Ben Affleck, when they walked into the bar for the first time, and there's a woman in the back, whatever, that he was trying to hit, and she wouldn't let him or whatever, and so he screams out across the bar, something like, why would you let me screw your woochie coochie or whatever?
Yeah.
No, yeah, and like you're like a weird way of describing it too. Like what the fuck is that has to be like a local dialect, like patois or whatever. But I've never heard that those words uttered together in any sort of semblance of utteration for
in front of her boyfriend.
In front of her boyfriend, but not even in front of her boyfriend. In front of the entire fucking bar.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I understand. Are we trying to establish this guy as a jackass? Okay, there are far simpler, less uglier, misogynistic ways you can fucking do it. And then of course, like she screams back at him, which, okay, I guess apparently she is a low class, low value person or whatever who's doing it back at him, and that's what we're trying to set up is that this is the environment they grow up in. But good God,
A lot of Sunset Lounge vibes.
Ish. I wouldn't even say that from fucking Sunset.
Actually,
honestly. Rusty Nail, maybe. But like that is the like with all the jokes they tell. That's where the humor was a problem for me. It was like almost every single joke they tell is incredibly sexualized. Like all of them. Every single last one. There's a woman running out of the bar, run across the plane trying to get a blowjob or whatever, which is incredibly unnecessary. And like, what's the fucking point? It's the joke that she tells at the end to try and fit in with his friends.
Point there, yeah.
But she's trying to fit in with her friends, but his friends, like, okay, cool, I guess.
They all laugh, and it's to prove that I'm not just some Harvard hoity-toity. I'm not your vision of me.
Yes, and it's a terrible joke still.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It is very hilarious.
In my opinion, it's a terrible joke still.
Okay.
And as well as, well, I've heard the comment, the one about the guy who was, I've heard that joke before, and maybe it came from this movie or whatever, with the guy who like drove the cop car in it to why he was drunk or whatever. It's the characters around him like trying to like ask questions when he's clearly delayed. And everyone giving him shit, and I get it, that's the dynamic of this group, but I would feel fucking uncomfortable, honestly, in that scenario. Like, I don't want to see you guys constantly giving this guy shit. I don't really like any of you. I don't know any of you. You're all loud and very fucking obnoxious. Yeah. And, like, I'm just politely here trying to drink my drink.
Well, that's who you are. I mean, I remember.
Yes!
When we first met, and I introduced you to my idiot friend.
Yes!
This was before you two.
Of course.
And I remember you calling them out on their bullshit.
Yes.
And I'll never forget. Can I tell the story?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I'll never forget. My buddy at the time liked to play a prank on people at the bar where he would pour salt into their beer.
Okay.
And watch them drink it. So the first time you met us,
yes,
you had a friend with you.
I did.
For protection or whatever.
It's just like one. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Well, he warned you.
Yes.
That he had put salt in your beer.
Yes.
And you drank said beer. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna leave the twist. Drank said beer, and got furious. We started laughing because, you know, it's prank, it's funny, ha ha ha. And I didn't know your feelings about pranks at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you got really mad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I'm about to shut it. Ari went full Beyonce mode. Like, I will shut all this shit down. like there was this. Whoo, yeah, y'all. If you know Ari, you kind of know what I'm talking about.
I don't think I got like that bad.
You know what I'm talking about.
I got very quiet.
You've seen it.
I think I have.
I got very quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about yelling, screaming.
Yes.
I'm talking about that intimidating aura that you have. That you could turn up to 15 and not say a fucking word, and everyone gets nervous.
Oh, I don't know. I do that.
Yes.
Oh.
Juice.
Yeah, I've felt it.
See.
There's a face that comes along with it.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Strange knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Everyone who has hung out with you for a elongated period of time knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, so she puts that up, and all I'm trying to do is fix it. I'm like, oh my god, what do we need to do? Blah blah blah. And my buddy, who did have a somewhat kind heart, realized that he was fucking this up for me. And he says, well, okay, would it make you feel better if I drank from it? And Ari just, you know what, I think it would. Just very matter-of-factly like that, right? Here's the evil genius part. So my buddy grabs the drink and just takes this big chug of salt and just, you know, not pleasant at all.
Of course.
Come to find out a few hours later, because she lets it ride for a minute, she never drank it because her friend warned her. She never drank the beer.
I pretended to drink it.
Pretended to drink it, and then staged that whole thing to make him drink it.
I know he was gonna drink it.
This
I didn't want to give him shit though.
Is the evil genius of Ari, which is where the intimidating aura comes from, because everyone knows you're the smartest one in the room.
I don't think I let it wait hours. I think I told him immediately.
Did you?
I think I did.
Oh, right after you drank it?
Oh yeah.
So wait, he poured the salt into her beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I wasn't looking, but my friend was there,
and she gave you the heads up.
He gave me a heads up. Yeah.
He did buy her a new beer.
Okay.
Yes.
And then he drank from that beer, and yes, as soon as he drank it, you were like, oh, by the way, I never drank it.
Yeah.
And that's when I fell in love. Because I realized that this is someone who's going to challenge me. They can outsmart me. They are very good at what they do. And it's like, oh, yeah, I like her.
Yeah, I think Brian actually laughed about that also, too. Like,
Brian had a lot of respect at that point. But also, I think you intimidated him, and I thought we weren't saying names, but I guess we just
Sorry,
did.
I just... my bad.
But I think that's a lot of my older friends, is that you intimidated them so much, and I also hung out with guys who could not be intimidated by women. And thus, the relationship started to fray. Because I chose a woman who intimidated them, and that doesn't bother me at all.
By the way, Strange has said, I have never had that moment with my wife, and I will try to avoid it at all costs because I know she can do that as well. Who is also a Capricorn, by the way.
Yeah, maybe it's a Capricorn thing.
I'm sure it's part.
Where were we?
We were talking about ugly.
Speaking of Capricorns, I as well.
Yeah, that's right.
That's who you're dating right now?
Oh,
nice.
There's now 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's the first son of the apocalypse.
Yes. They cannot all be brought together in the same room.
Oh god, if Nick finds a Capricorn, we're fucked.
Yep. Anyway,
yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Ari intermediated Matt into getting better friends.
Oh my god, yes. Ari was very instrumental in that.
Am I still doing my ugly?
Yes.
Yes.
I like telling that story too because it's funny.
Because you won.
Yes. Why else would that want to be funny? I don't understand. Dots, not feathers.
Huh?
Dots, not feathers.
The Indian reference.
That was a very problematic.
There's no fucking point in that being in there. Mm-hmm. There's none. You can tell by this person's name who they're talking about.
Yes.
Nope, there's nobody who needs them to. Not they, and they do the hand signal.
People that knew each other for that long would talk to each other, possibly in the 90s.
In the movie, though, I'm asking that they not do this shit. Exactly. Like, it's not like, oh, this is how people talk. That's great. People, also use the bathroom. We don't see it all the time in the movie.
I see your point.
And then, they do a hand signal with it as well. Like, I don't give a fuck if that's how they talk. You're not putting it in my fucking movie and you get it. So,
I understand.
So that's basically it. A lot of it was just, for the most part, it was the just constant undercurrent of misogyny and sexism that just didn't need to fucking be there. It didn't serve anyone's purpose. The only female character in the movie is... Oh, that's the last thing I was going to say. It was Minnie Driver's character. And the scene where he is just losing his shit because she's begging him to tell her about something about him. Like, I'm going to repeat that again. He's losing his shit because she's begging him to tell her something about himself. Do we want to revisit how fucking unhinged that sounds?
No,
I understand guys being fucking stupid.
No, it's not about him being stupid. He's fucking broken. That's the whole idea.
I understand that. You do not get to lose your shit on somebody because you can't handle your own emotions.
I understand.
That's what I'm getting at. And when I say stupid, I don't mean as in he's actually, obviously he's not stupid. And I don't mean oh, this guy's they're just being dumb. I mean that as being there is this pass that seems to be given in general to guys, I don't know, whatever. But not trying to harp on that, but specifically as it relates to mental health, because the patriarchy refuses to allow them to get any sort of self-help without constantly stigmatizing it. And that sucks. But the problem is, a lot of times it's the women in their lives who are trying to support them to do that, if nothing else, for their own health as well as for the guys. And because women are there, they are the ones who kind of get shat upon. And so I understand that this interaction is there to kind of show this conflict that they're going to end up breaking up because he's not ready. He's going through therapy. He's trying to get better, but he hasn't made that breakthrough yet to try to be able to self-disclose.
Yes.
Which is why he has yet to do it in fucking therapy.
Yes.
But she's not the one who's going to be able to do it for him. And so, she's the one who's actually gotten the closest, even more than his therapist.
Yes. Okay. That's, again, going to go into my grades.
And so I understand all of these things. I get it. And this is why these things will seem nice and good in a movie up to a point. It is the part where he's basically banging on the wall and everything like that and intimidating her and so forth and so on. And it's the boundary crossing that I will constantly have as an issue with this movie. It can be an ugly at times. This is one of it. And Robin Williams grabbing his would-be client by the throat is absolutely another one of it. And it's just the inadherence to boundaries that is just pervasive in this movie. I don't know if that's because it's Harvey Weinstein. I don't know if it's because that's the way they wrote the fucking movie.
No, that's the way they wrote the movie.
And that's problematic for me. It always will be. I get if that was the way in which they're able to communicate anger and frustration, but the point is to intimidate the woman in front of you.
Yes.
That's an ugly. Always gonna be.
Okay.
So.
Go ahead, Jason.
For me, it really was mostly the teacher hitting on his students thing. The boundary crossing a little bit. For me, in regards to the film, because of the challenge that was set up, it didn't bother me too much. As far as Robin Williams is Sean grabbing Will by the throat. I get it, but you're not always gonna see that.
He did warn him.
Right. Yeah, he did warn him.
Watch your mouth.
Yeah, he did warn him.
That doesn't mean you get to
choke
your fucking client.
No, but you're showing there are consequences for crossing this line that I've already established.
Then get the fuck out of my office. Go deal with the courts.
Consequence for him. That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm. So is going to court. That's not my problem. No, that's yours.
I understand that, but that's not a consequence for him. So it's not doing what you want to do. I
disagree.
Okay.
It is a consequence whether he sees it or not.
But I will say, the intimidating of a woman death was that I will agree with for sure. Okay, the comment of the feathers, dots not feathers thing. I'm not trying to defend it.
That's how you're going to defend it.
I understand the issue with it. I guess my concern is we were always saying Indians, whether they be Middle Eastern or Native American. We were never specifically calling Native Americans Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. The ugly is more so the unwilling to define or to separate that.
Yeah.
That's where my ugly is on that. It's the unwillingness to separate it.
So your ugly is that we used to call Native Americans Indians so far that we have to make the determination at this stage?
Yes.
But we couldn't just say Indian, not Native American, as opposed to dots, not feathers.
I think it was more so for the. I think that, and that's more so for the joke too.
Yeah, that's a terrible fucking joke.
Yes. Yes.
Fair enough. And I'm done.
Alright. Sorry, it just sounded for a second like you were defending it. I was like,
No.
I'm gonna give you shit for that one.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely not. I'm not. I wasn't trying to defend it. My issue is that even in the 90s we were still calling Native Americans Indians because of this. I don't know what the right terminology is for it, but that for the longest time we were always referring to Native Americans as Indians because of whatever bullshit we grew up. The country grew up
I get
with
that.
the
Yeah,
media.
no, yeah.
So again, that's my issue with that. Real quick, so Strange, straight after the last comment about Ari intermediating Matt into getting better friends. Wait, I missed something. Did someone say something about another Capricorn being introduced to this group? I can't handle it. Ari and my wife are enough to enslave humanity. If we introduce another one, they might actually do it. So I have recently started dating a Capricorn. I met a young lady online, and we have been going out for a little over a month now. And yes, she is also a Capricorn. She has not been introduced to the group yet.
We're taking our time with that.
We are very much
we
taking.
probably avoid
Wow.
us being in the same room together or something.
I am. Yeah, no. The it's like Matt said. It's like it's the Triforce, but bad.
It is my birthday this weekend, though.
It's not happening. It
It
is. Oh my God, that's right. Shit. Well, you didn't make any plans.
Well,
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard anything, and I already have plans. So I'm sorry.
I'm gonna just jump in real quick. I just wanted to comment one more time on the last comment regarding the uglies, in that I understand that we should not have been using the term Indian with regard to Native Americans forever. What I will say though is everything that's done in a movie is intentional.
That's fair.
And the intention of the like, what is the purpose of putting that particular comment in?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It is you can make the determination between like, oh, is this Indian national or Indian Native American?
That is normal banter, and it was to show that they had a friendly relationship. But it is not okay banter in 2024.
It was not okay then. I'm just gonna leave that at that.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So our great. Mine's gonna be a little long-winded. So go ahead.
My great are. Okay.
I feel like Future Trunks with Android 16. If she set me free, it'll be the end of all
If
of
she
us.
set free, it'll be the end of all of us. No! And then he shoots the fire. Then he shoots the key blast. We will see. We shall see. That there's still gonna there's plenty of time for that. There's plenty of time for that. She's gonna go visit her parents next week so she'll be gone for 2 weeks.
Well, let her know that whenever we meet her, hopefully me and Jay can add her to the group chat.
Group chat?
There's a Capricorn's group chat.
Oh, you guys don't have?
No.
They have monthly
How
Cooper
sad
Talk
for you.
meetings and sip wine and talk about the destruction of their husbands in society.
That's right.
Who told you? Oh, no, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so my great is those first two initial meetings with Will and Sean.
Yeah.
You set the rules. You test the waters, and then you break down the whole, and then he broke down his whole world and said, "This is how things are. Your move."
Mm-hmm.
And while you're, and you know, it felt real. But I really enjoyed. I more so for the performances. That's what I really loved about it. Was just more so for the performances. Whoever wants to go.
It's some of the most beautiful exposition in a movie ever, because it's pretty much telling Will his whole life story.
Yeah.
By picking him apart.
Yeah.
May I do my great?
Yes.
So
You have great.
I have a great.
Okay, good.
So my great is the first scene with Will and Sean, and there are a couple of reasons for it. I think, and this is kind of why I'm going to argue against the idea that they should be doing this back and forth manipulation. That's fine or whatever, because that's the whole point. Will is able to manipulate all of his other therapists up to this point, and one of the ways he does it is he makes it personal.
Mm-hmm.
He mocks what they do. He mocks who they are. He mocks who his sexuality. Yeah, he identifies instead of pushing back against it and like, no, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. Like, it's whatever. Like, like whatever. Like, not even acknowledging it and just like, why does that bother you? Like, just focusing on like, what are you? Everything that you're saying is for a reason. What are you doing those for that reason? Not me. The minute that Sean crosses that line and lets Will know that something he said bothers him, basically means that Sean has won.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he shut it down or because he grabbed his neck or whatever and told him this is a boundary. You've already crossed the boundary. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But other than that scene was very well done. And one of the things I think about is the painting that he talks about. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there like, are we talking about Sean? Or are you talking about you? And that should have been the question that would have been following, like, that he's saying that I'm making this picture or whatever about me. But really, it's like, okay, so where are you getting these images from? Like, what's like it feels more like you are projecting at this point. Now, obviously, you're not going to say that in a therapy. Like, they're not going to care what you say as far as what the hell's projecting anyway. Obviously, Will would know what that is. But it is combative by challenging someone and telling them that they are doing that. You would just know that's the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, okay, that's interesting. You're just saying that. Let's kind of focus on something else. Like, with regards to what you're saying about that, that's when the boundary gets broken because he mentioned something about he's a almost throwaway line like about how he met the wrong woman or whatever. He could have come up with anything else, but that's what he came up with, and that particularly struck a nerve for Sean. But up to that point, it's the reason why when I mentioned the improv game for wrestling, like asking a question until the other person answers, and then that person answers, that means they've lost. Mm. That's what they were doing because I don't remember who started it, but I'm pretty sure Sean starts it, right? Because he has to start talking or something. And Will.
Yeah, he starts it with "How are you?"
Yeah, so he just asks, "How are you?" And then Will comes back with another question.
Yeah.
And then,
no, that's an astute observation. I never caught that.
And then Sean comes back with another one. The first one to answer the question is Will.
Yeah.
And then at some point he's shooting back questions back and forth, and it's still questions being like Sean doesn't answer a question until I forget what he says, but in and of itself is actually kind of still with regards to what Will is talking about. It's not really about himself. There is some self-disclosure in there here and there, but it's nothing more than surface level that you ordinarily would not get because you're human beings who live in the same area. It's going to come up. But it's still turned around as to like how does that like you're doing it like, okay, this is about you as a therapist. And so I loved watching that scene because it's the idea of the give and take that goes on in dialogue writing. That there's always this like push and pull, and this was a very clear example of it, and I think it was very well done. Yeah. And it's the first example we get of it. I think they have it throughout, but I think this is where they cling to it the hardest. Because later on, the boundaries have been crossed. We're not really worrying about it, the question and answer as much anymore. But here is where they're first starting out. And it's not so much, is it maybe if you want to look at it in terms of like it is a game, but the person who is ultimately like losing kind of, at least at first, is Will. Because he's answering questions without realizing that he's answering questions. Every time he asks one, he never gets anything back from the other person. but he's giving other stuff up. And so I thought that was really fascinating. I thought that was really well done. That's my favorite scene in the entire movie.
All right.
You're great, Matt.
So my grade is the individual arcs and how subtly and beautifully they're done in this movie. There is a message behind everything, including Skarsgård hitting on his students. The whole there's a fantastic scene between Skarsgård and Robin when they're screaming at each other about Will.
Yeah.
And this is the one where Will walks in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it gets very personal between them.
Yes.
And it just kind of hit me this time watching it through. Like, they're all trying to get Will to just experience life. Like, you will win something. You won't win everything, but you're gonna win something just because it's natural for you. Like, you will be great if you just let yourself be great. That is their whole message to Will this whole time. They're really just trying to. It's like you said. It's very foundational. It's very basic. Like, all you need to do right now is put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would definitely recommend follow-up therapy
Mm-hmm.
for all the shit you're about to go through, opening yourself up for the first time. And another reason I like this movie, because it leaves on a very open note. It is him driving off into the sunset. We even made a joke about it. On a beater, driving cross-country to go get this girl. We don't even know if the car's going to make it.
It's not.
But
he's going on good faith.
But he's putting himself out there. That's what it is. And that's the whole point of this movie. And in that argument, it kind of shows that, you know, they project on each other that they're jealous of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Robin thinks, or Skarsgård thinks Robin is jealous of his Fields Award. And Robin's like, I don't give a fuck about your
his
Fields
success,
Award.
yeah.
Because I found love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I won. And the way Robin always talks about his wife, it's like obvious that was his
win.
His win. That was
Yeah.
his. And now that she's gone, he doesn't see his life. He's really just waiting to die at this point.
Yeah.
Counting down the minutes.
Strange says, "Oh, it's 100% not making it." That car broke down immediately after the camera cut. Also, earlier he said, "I have become Matt." Dang it, I was aiming for Willie.
So him hitting on his students is mirroring the fact that Skarsgård's character found success in academia, never really found success in love. Robin's character didn't have the success in academia because he chose love. And that is the mirror between the two. They actually work really well off of each other because one chose one path, one chose the other. And these are kind of the two people that Will Hunting can become in his life. And then there's third and fourth and fifth option as well that we don't even know about. But there's different roads to take, and there's different people, and everyone has different experiences. And another one of my favorite scenes is the baseball scene. When he's talking about the Game 6 of the World Series and how they came to it, and they just hit you with, I don't know, I wasn't there. You said you had tickets. Yeah, I gave my ticket up so I could hang out with my wife. Like, that's huge. Like, it's such... And so it's everyone is so focused on winning everything in life that they don't appreciate the wins they get. That's who Sean and Jerry are.
Yeah.
And then you have the people who could have wins in life but are too scared to go after it, and that's Will. And then you have Minnie Driver's character who sees what's happening, but she knows she can't tell him. Because then she's the enemy. She's another one of these people trying to psychoanalyze, trying to tell Will what he needs, and that's never what he wants. So she waits. And that's kind of the telling part, is that phone conversation after the fight, when she's just sitting there and they're kind of just talking about their day, and it's kind of weird and kind of awkward. And then at the very end, she hits him with the "I love you." He goes, "You take care," and she knows she can't force it, and she's just gonna sit there and wait, and it may never happen, but she's willing to wait until he opens up finally. And he knows that he wants to open up, but he's also terrified of getting hurt. And these character arcs, and then Ben Affleck's moment of vulnerability is, I think, one of the better, like, if you're talking about side characters that don't really mean anything to the plot, really just push the plot forward, that's one of the best moments of vulnerability in one of those characters of all time. Where it's like, this is my safe spot. This is my group of friends. They don't challenge me. I can just lead them, and they know I'm smarter than them, and I know I'm smarter than them, and there's no real friction there, and it's easy. And then one of them turns to him and goes, "Fuck you, dude. You're an insult. You're insulting us by staying and doing this." And he hits him with, "Oh, not you too, man." And like, no, yeah, me too. Fuck you, dude. Do what you need to do. There are just so many character arcs that get consummated so beautifully in this film. That is my grade, is how they wrote I'm going to say, 5 major characters in this movie. And how they come to fruition, and they all have their endings. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and it all makes sense. And that's why I took him hitting off his students as ugly, because I thought I'm taking it as, like you said, everything in the movie is intentional. It is them illustrating that he still has no luck in love.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's looking in the wrong fucking places. But that's an area of his life he never got to win in. And I think he's jealous as fuck that Robin Williams got an entire marriage out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is my grade.
Okay. If I may.
Sure.
I just a couple of things that you were saying that reminded me of things I wanted to add to mine, but I'm just going to add that to my uglies. And that is, it's specifically the idea that with, it's I understand, I take your point about, like, he was, like, I think you have a really good point about the two different, like, paths, basically, that they end up taking, and the way that it's demonstrated. The reason why him hitting on the students is ugly, because you're in a position of power, dude. What the fuck are you doing?
No, you should never do that. Yes.
And while I understand that professors do that, there's no reference to it in the movie in any sort of like commentary. It's just there to talk about his character, but it doesn't, like, there's no, Robin Williams' character never brings up the fact that he's doing it, and in any sort of way to make him feel shame for it. It's that's one of the issues. Like, it's just it never gets, like, called on, like, for ethics violations.
Yeah, I guess it never hit me because I see Skarsgård as the villain of this movie.
I don't know if there's a villain.
There is. I think he represents the machine. You have something I can use. I must put you in this machine, and I must mold you, and then I will become successful off of your success because I found you.
I don't.
That's kind of his whole motivation.
That might be, but I don't think that necessarily makes him the villain. I don't even think that necessarily makes him an antagonist. Only in such a way that he might be.
Cynic, so
that's more projecting from you.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna call that out.
Okay.
But the idea is that with regards to the film, there are these two equal but opposing viewpoints, and they're both demanding that Will pick one of them.
Yeah.
And basically, he kind of decides to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. The other part of the ugly for me is Minnie Driver's character, which I didn't really talk about because I really didn't know how to talk about it. But you started talking about it, and like, then she has an arc. Like, no, she doesn't. She's there to represent this perfect character. And I understand even, like, you know, William, like, Sean's like she's not perfect. And we know she's not perfect. Like, because people aren't fucking perfect. But the only real issues we see, like, with her is there's not really any issues, right? She comes off as basically the perfect woman. She gets all his jokes. She makes the same kind of jokes with him. She's kind of goofy and funny along with him. That, like, she's has his same humor. She's on his level in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They have sex. Like, there's all these other things why she's beautiful. There's all these reasons why she fits his mold, but her own desires don't really seem to factor into anything that he's trying to get done. He's not trying to get close to it. Like, he knows that this relationship is going to last for very long because she's going to do something else with her own thing. But he loves her and won't say anything about it. And so when she asks him to go with her to California, which, by the way, did you even graduate from... What are you doing here? I was under the impression she was finishing her senior year at Harvard and then just fucks off to California in med school without a summer, without graduation, or anything like that usually comes between the two.
Blase past that point.
We'll put that in my bad category. It's the inconsistency. But yeah, no, like, honey, why are you asking him to move to California? You don't know anything about him. That's bad. That's bad. I know you don't have 12 brothers that you've been fucking lying to me about. That's not a great way to start this relationship off and try to move across country with. Okay. So.
Boy, I think it's a good illustration. She's the healthy one in the movie.
I know.
That's her character. She knows what she's doing.
I know.
She picked that moment to be vulnerable with him.
Yes.
Which is all she wants from him is to be vulnerable, but he wasn't ready.
And this is where kind of the ugly for me comes in, is the idea that the other reason why she is this perfect woman is that she's willing to wait for him. We're assuming, and maybe he goes up there.
She's making a choice to wait for him.
No. We don't. She's making a choice because screenwriters need to make a choice. Because there's no real, like, she still leaves, right? But we're assuming that she's still waiting for him when she gets there. We don't know.
Well,
we don't know.
That's another thing. That's the other thing about this ending is it's so open. He could get there and she's dating somebody.
Yes, because it's weird that you broke up with me. You fucking intimidated me and like was punching the wall next to me and screaming at me or whatever, and you don't love me because you told me you don't fucking love me. You let me leave halfway, completely across the continent. And then you drove up here. Now, I get it. It's the 90s, so cell phones and being able to find people isn't as easy as it used to be. Or as easy as it is now. But the idea is that also, like, okay, stalker-ish much. What the fuck are you doing here? If you don't love me and you drove up here and just beat her ass, he's going to finding her somehow from Nevada and calling for a ride. Like, you can find me while you're in Reno for a ride. Why the fuck could you call me from Massachusetts? But I digress. This is all speculation. But the idea is that, like, she's just this object for him to chase. She doesn't really get much in the way of development or arc. She's very flat the whole way through.
Because she's the healthy. She's the baseline.
But the healthy still have arcs. Healthy, we don't really, like, her arc is just to be there for him. That's it. That's all she exists for.
She's in the movie, but she's doing other things outside of the movie. That's why she moves to California. That's why her life is going on without him.
Yes.
It's not like, because when you say that, I think of movies where it's like, it feels like when he left your life the last time we saw you, you stood there and waited for him to come back.
Yes.
It doesn't feel that way with her. It feels like she is moving on. She's got finals now, and she's working on this project now. She's working on this project. She's moving. Like, her life is going on.
Okay.
With or without him. She wants him there, but she's still moving.
Okay.
So I don't see it that way.
I guess that part of it is because they don't really address the fight at all in any way when they're talking. Not really. It's just more like, oh yeah, I understand you're going through some stuff, it's fine. And like, while I understand that may be present in relationships, again, everything in a film is intentional.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is communicating a message that I feel is problematic.
Okay.
That I'll just leave it at that then.
Okay. If you're going to have a scene like that, you should have some consequences for that scene.
Yes. And her leaving is not enough of a consequence, especially if he ends up going after her, and presumably the movie would have us believe they end up getting back together at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Alright. I can see that.
So.
Alright, did we hit everything?
Yes.
I think we did.
Out of
finally.
10. So go ahead, or I'll go first.
No,
or-
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because this is my first time. But just off of how I'm feeling, 8.
8.
8.
Okay. I am at a 9.5. Don't do the math in your head. Just say a number.
6.5.
6 point. God damn.
I didn't care for it.
That's a far leap. All right. So let's see here.
8. That's 17 and a half.
14 and a half.
24?
No.
20.
No, it said 9, and then you said, what would you say was?
I had an 8.
So that's
17 and a half plus your 6.5 is 24.
What was he saying 9.5?
He said 9.5.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Ew, okay.
Plus 8, so 17.
So, yeah, that'll be 24.
24.
So
So
8.
8, yeah. Which is about where IMDb is.
Yep.
And Strange is at a 9 out of 10 or a fuck Freud.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right. Right on. So buy it, stream it, rent it, own it, whatever.
So for me, this is a buy it.
Okay.
I think that this for me is a buy it.
I am the same. Just not only because I feel like it's a fantastic movie, but also it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's like writing debut and one of their first big ones, and won a bunch of Oscars. Like this is one you should.
It's a really good performance from Robin Williams as well.
Even though it is one of the best performances from Robin Williams, I would still go with Don't Bother. I've got my entire life without having seen this film in its entirety, and I don't feel like it really improved it in any way. So
Sure.
It's you can. I don't know. That's just me. So.
Okay. All right. So is that it?
Last thing I wanted to point out, I was seeing this on Reddit and I haven't been able to confirm it. I did not realize everyone talks about like when they talk about Robin Williams. Unfortunately, a lot of times you cannot extract from any discussion about him or thought about him with regards to the end of his life.
Yeah.
And I was looking at one of the Reddit posts about like the therapy element of Good Will Hunting, and someone posted something about how like before I say that, let me confirm it before I say anything incorrect. One second. Okay. So yeah, so I never heard about the cause of his death. Obviously we've heard that it was suicide, but a lot of people just attribute it to depression. And I just read on Reddit and just confirmed it on Wikipedia that it was because of, not Wikipedia, but like AI overview, that no, he did have Lewy body dementia, a type of dementia caused by abnormal brain clumps. So it's basically dementia, Parkinson, like version of Parkinson's, only it's like Alzheimer's basically. And he was already starting to have symptoms. And so that is, his wife basically confirmed that's why he did it. Did not know that. So, yay for having read that now, 10 years after the fact. Somehow managed to go a decade without realizing that.
Yeah.
So.
I figured it was something like that.
Really? How did you figure?
I mean, I can understand the outlook of knowing that something's coming and you're not going to be the person that you are.
Yeah.
And having to make that choice of live your life as this other person.
Oh, so you're not saying you always thought that was what it was. You just never shared it with anybody else, but you understand that perspective.
Well, I figured it was something like that because it was so out of left field.
Oh, okay.
That I felt like there had to be something deeper there. Like he didn't want to go any further. And that tracks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I always assumed or heard that it was depression.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. He's probably depressed that this is coming.
But, like, there's, like, that would be different, though.
No, yeah. I mean, but you're in a tunnel. You have a freight train coming at you. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I get it.
Oh, wait, you
anyway, We got spinning?
No, we're spinning. I was
Is
letting.
that where we're at?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said anything else, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, he had dementia. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, Strange said dark way to end the review.
You're welcome.
All right, so let me make sure my sound is on. All right, are we ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Finally get back to my regular wheel. Well, second time. Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. Oh, how fun.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So next week, we will be traveling to a world of pure imagination.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
Please tell me, Willy Wonka or
We are watching Willy Wonka and the
thank
Chocolate
God.
Factory.
Fucking
You wouldn't
Christ.
have put Charlie on.
I did not like.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I recently watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it does not work for me.
Good on you, because I would never.
Alright, so Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yay!
That's going to be interesting. That's actually, I played Willy Wonka in high school, so.
And I have
Oh,
not
you
seen
evil
a movie all the way
bastard.
through in
Yeah.
forever.
Wait, what?
I've not seen a movie all the way through in forever.
You've
They
never.
have in forever. Because they always have
Okay.
it playing on TV.
Yeah.
And whenever I watch it, it's almost always from some point when they're already in the chocolate factory.
Okay, so you've never.
I almost have never. I've seen like the intro part at the beginning and like seeing the desolate, horrible like squalor that he lives in.
Yeah,
But like I had seen so much more of the movie.
That's fair.
So many more times before I ever saw the beginning.
yeah, you forget.
I don't remember
Yeah.
what the beginning looks like.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Well, that's gonna be an interesting discussion for next time. There's gonna be some there's gonna be some candy involved as well. So.
Me?
Candy.
Alright, so we're going to call it there. That was Good Will Hunting. A little divisive on that one, but.
Longer stream too.
Well,
I think
when
it was.
we got something to talk about. It's
We were
it's
almost
gonna
as
be a
long as the movie itself.
which is fine.
I think it was worthy of. I think it was worth the conversation though. There was a lot to dissect in this movie.
Yeah.
There was a lot. There was a fair amount to talk about.
So,
Okay.
alright, so Willy Wonka next week. Yeah, next week.
Yeah, Willy Wonka next
Then we'll
week.
be skipping a week
For Christmas.
and
Christmas.
possibly
And
New Year's.
Possibly New Year's.
We'll talk about it. We'll see.
We might
where
have
we're
to
at.
do a different day or something like that.
You know, maybe we can do something like celebrating the New Year's with Juice's new beau.
She'll be out of town. And it would be her bell. It'd be my bell.
Yeah.
I don't know the terms.
Bow is for a man. It would be Belle, right?
It would be Belle.
It's funny. Her favorite Disney movie is or one of her favorite is Beauty and the Beast.
Because it's French.
So yeah, it would be my Belle,
Okay.
which would then make me
That
the Beast.
Belle! Sorry.
So for No Collar Entertainment,
This is Matt.
Ariane.
this is Juice.
We're out.
Bye.
I have nothing for this week.